That was my first watch and probably my biggest lesson in watches because I bought it after it got discontinued and I don't think I'll ever buy a watch like that again.
Yes, people, it's Issa here on the KNQ Podcast, where we discuss everything from watches and jewellery and, of course, touching on a number of other topics as well to do with current affairs, general life and the economy, and, of course, everything in between. Let's get right into this week's episode. Yes, people, welcome to the KNQ Podcast. I'm Issa. Before we get started, remember, subscribe to the page, comment and like this video. Today, we're joined by a very special guest, but also someone who's a good friend of mine. We go back a few years. We have a lot of friends in common as well. We're going to get into everything. But before that, let me introduce him. He is a music producer, TV presenter. He's a very talented footballer and boxer. He hasn't paid me to say any of this. It is, of course, the one and only Savage Dan. Dan, thank you for joining us on
Thanks for having me.
KNQ Podcast. And I guess, of course, we filmed this a few days after the Queen has passed away. And interestingly enough, you are, very recently you've become the head of media relations at Boxer Promotions. How did that come about?
Do you know what? I've been with Boxer for years. Before they were the big company that they are now, I was with them. So I kind of grew into the roles, I kind of was in that role already without it being, signed, sealed and delivered. So it came about just because I was already in boxing. I was working with JD and Matchroom. Got headhunted by Ben Shalom. And then it just went from strength to strength. We just worked together and things happened. And then there were splits in the boxing world and broadcasters going here, promoters going here and there. I had to pick a side. I picked my side.
Now, we've discussed this before as well. Now, obviously, I was mentioning with the passing of the Queen, you've seen the fight that you were supposed to be covering being cancelled and, of course, the impact that that's had maybe on some of the finances and all of that going in. Now, we've discussed before the boxing model, pay-per-view fights and this and that. Do you think it's sustainable? Because, you've got a rise of all these different cards coming up.
Do you know what? It is, but I think you've got to know who you're aiming at. I don't think there's that many boxing fans in the UK. You've got to kind of turn football fans' heads. If you want to get big numbers for viewership, if you want to get the masses involved, then it's only going to be people like me and the dedicated boxing fans that wake up every day and care about everything in boxing. In every country, in every weight division. Everyone else, they're gonna watch the fights that are the biggest fights. You know what I mean? They're gonna watch the fights that are on that they see on Sky Sports being promoted heavily, all of that kind of stuff. For me, I watch everything. I watch a Southern area fight, and then I'll watch a WBC World Eliminator fight. Like I'll watch the whole thing.
You're a fan of the sport.
I'm a fan of the sport.
You're not too bad.
I still got some hands. I'm getting old, but I still got some hands. But for me, I'm not sure how sustainable it is. We'll find out. Everyone's tried to do a dedicated boxing channels before. We've seen it. Box Nation, Satanta tried to do it. Subscription-based boxing. It's a great idea, but it's quite romantic. I don't think there's enough dedicated boxing fans.
Yeah, man. Now, obviously...
But big up the Queen as well.
Big up the Queen as well. Okay. And the new king as well, of course, Charles. Now, obviously, we here at Kings and Queens, aptly named, if anything, we're all about our watches. And the reason I wanted to get you on is that, like I said, you're a man with many feathers in your cap, music producer, presenter, everything else you do. In addition to all of that, you're a man who's been an admirer of watches. We've always been discussing watches in our private time. We share the same barber as well. Shout out Nico, all tight Nick. So, I wanted to begin maybe with going through some of the watches that you own, because I know you're quite a kind of passionate collector. Maybe to start with what your first watch was, what it meant for you, what it represented in your development and career kind of coming up.
So my first watch was this one, the Batman, 2018. I think they discontinued it and then they put it on a Jubilee strap. So it kind of skyrocketed. I think I paid over the odds for it. I paid 12 and a half. And I think, and you know what the worst thing was? I paid 12 and a half, but on the box, it said like 7995 or something stupid like that. So you got knocked. But I was happy to have it, man. Like it signified, I paid cash for it as well. You know, like when you're just trying to get rid of cash. And for me, I just pull it on my wrist and it just worked. In my head, I didn't really want to wear my watches. I knew that as soon as you start wearing them and falling in love with them, like you just want another one and then another one. And then and that's what happened, man. It literally sent me spiraling out of control. And before you knew it, like, I'm just buying watch after watch after watch after watch. And yeah, but that one there is significant. That was my first watch and probably my biggest lesson in watches because I bought it after it got discontinued and I don't think I'll ever buy a watch like that again.
Yeah. So with the Batman, obviously so what they did, they basically changed the reference on it. They discontinued that reference and now you can get one on a Jubilee or an oyster strap. But the reference would be the same.
That Jubilee one, when that came out, it was like 18 grand.
Yeah,
it was weird that the prices on it were crazy.
That was my first watch, the Batgirl.
Is it? The Batgirl.
So now the Batman on the Jubilee is like the nickname's the Batgirl.
Yeah.
And that was my first watch. And I guess like, I don't know about you, but coming up for me, seeing the brand Rolex associated with Formula One and Wimbledon tennis, like it was always a aspiration for me to kind of aim to get one. And like you said, when you get that first one, it kind of means something different to the others because it's almost like, oh, I've made what I've wanted to make, or I've made it. And obviously you don't stop the grind, but what did it represent for you in that sense?
I think it gave me a momentum. It was like hitting on Mario Kart when you hit like the speed thing. It's like I got that and it was just like, boom, all right, cool, we're ready to go, let's go. I think within a couple of months, I was on to my next one already. And then it was a quick couple of years. And before you know it, I had a solid enough collection, but only Rolex. I never went and got APs or Pateks. They were too ambitious for me. They were like, and the Patek, every time I woke up, it was like, it was off, up another 10 grand and up another 10 grand. It just felt like these watches were not going to stop. So for me, that watch there represents like the beginning of the like, I don't know, like when you start to feel like actually now there's money rolling in now, the money's coming in. And then I went and got probably my everyday watch, which is the root beer. Like I wear this like all the time. I've battered it, to be fair. Got scratches all over it. But that is like my everyday watch. And to be fair, I've never really been the biggest fan of two tones. But that's the only one really that I looked at and I was just like, no, I like it from the jump. I feel like I have to grow into love with two tones. But that one, I don't know what it is. It's not loud. It's like...
It's very understated.
It's just, it felt like me. It felt like me. And I got it kind of early.
Yeah.
When did they drop that? 2018, I think it might have come out.
Yeah, I think it was. But see with those, right? So see with the root beers, what you saw. So obviously we're like towards the middle to end of 2022. At the beginning of the year, obviously we saw like crazy hype of watches. They were just going crazy. The root beer was super popular. Then it became super unpopular. People started flooding them back, trying to sell them out the market. It was just too bait, and I think it was unsustainable.
Yeah.
But now what you're seeing is like people will start coming back in here. And I'm noticing 3 watches that people want. The Bluesy, so the blue bimetal Submariner, the GMT root beer, and the blue Sky Dweller. Right, those are the 3, let's say, sports models or stainless steel models that people are like, yeah, that's the one that I want. And I feel like you're always safe, even if you pay a bit above whatever you should pay. You're always safe in them kind of models.
100%. And when I kind of had a decision to make between that one and the Bluesy.
Yeah.
And I went with that one because I felt like it would be easier to wear, even though in my mind I wasn't going to wear it. And then I wore it every flipping day after it. So yeah, I went with that. I'm happy I did, man, because look, one day I'll get rid of all my watches. And I think the one that will survive will be that. I think that will be the one I keep out of all of them.
Yeah.
It's just it's quite everyday-ish. I feel like I can wear it with anything. I'll wear it with tracksuit. I can just wear it with anything.
Yeah, we drop with anything.
Yeah.
And I feel like rose gold suits like dark skin as well.
100%.
It looks really
100%.
nice on it.
Do you know what? I got this the week of my first boxer show, I think, or maybe a couple of weeks before my first ever boxer show. It was like UB7, so like it was in lockdown.
Yeah.
And I'm talking the hype of lockdown where like you have to, if you're fighting, you have to be in bubbles, and those bubbles have to stay, and you have to be tested every day, and like you can't go out, and you couldn't even dream of mixing with the public. Like I'm talking like the absolute hype of it.
Yeah.
And I remember because I had me and Paulie Malignaggi were in the same bubble. We was obviously doing broadcast together, and that was the week I got that watch. I remember because there's a picture of me and Paulie, and I'm wearing that watch. And yeah, so that watch is actually, it's got a bit of a little bit of story. Yeah, it's got the Paulie story on it.
All right, so all right, you've mentioned that obviously the lockdown and that, and this is what I want kind of this podcast to always be touching on different things as well, talking about watches, investment, and like life in general. And like looking back, you see the kind of measures people were taking with the pandemic. Do you think maybe it was a bit overblown? We did a bit much looking.
Mate, just a bit. Like, honestly, I don't... Look, you got to take certain things seriously, I get it. But me, I'm the type of person that just fancies my odds in any given situation. Like, I fancy myself against whatever it is. Yeah. So whilst everyone... I remember like walking down the road, like even outdoors, like you walk down the road, people from 20 feet away are crossing the road. They just don't want to be near another human.
Yeah, it might not be COVID though.
No. I'm talking like I'm wearing Crocs these times. Like I was not menacing to anyone.
No, but
yeah, it was like a bit of a stupid time. Like we made like a big deal about it. Like obviously a lot of people passed away and died and whatever it is, but it's like it's gone. It's different. Yeah. I could understand it if it was like, it's gone. Like look around, like we're back to normal out of nowhere. So for me, I think we did overreact. But
I feel like a big part of it was, and I agree with you, that's how I saw it. I fancied my chances and I looked at it and I thought, okay, well, someone that's under the age of 40, otherwise healthy, this thing's not going to kill you. It's not going to come close to killing you. You're going to have a bad flu and that's going to be the end of it. And when I start seeing people in my age group, like, I'm going to go out and get vaccinated, I was like, all right, cool, but why? You doing it for a medical reason? You doing it to protect granny? Whatever it might be. Half of them telling me, I just want to go out and nap. I want to go out and eat
convenient.
I want a job. And I'm like, all right, but then that's not really like, it's a bit of a bad reason to do something that's not been tested or experimented with.
Look, bottom line, my thing was, I don't care about what anyone's doing. You got to do whatever you want to do, whatever you feel. If you're scared and you feel like you need this vaccination, go and get vaccinated. But if you're not scared and you feel like you don't need it, I don't want to hear no noise. I don't want to hear any pressure from people trying to tell me that I must go and get vaccinated or I must do this because blah, blah, blah. If you feel like you need something to make you feel safer, go and do it. Get me? I'm happy for you. But if you don't, then you don't. Yeah, let's stay dig your heels in, let's tough it out. So that was me. I felt like at them times it was like, do you remember? It was like almost like you was being shamed. If massively. You weren't vaccinated or
massively.
If you weren't
Massively.
like if you didn't wear a mask, people were looking at you like, oh my gosh, this person's not wearing a mask. Like it was strange, man. It was a strange time, man. It just let me know how quickly things can just tap people's minds.
Attentions can change. Yeah, like there's a joke a friend of mine told that it's like when Putin invaded Ukraine, he cured COVID because now no one's talking about COVID. Everyone's got the Ukraine flag on their profile, and then the next thing will come, and then it will be people's attention spans are always changing. And I guess one thing that me and you have talked about a lot on the phone as well, like sometimes, and just for the benefit of like the people watching, like me and Dan can get on a phone call and be chatting for hours, and then one of the main things we like to talk about is obviously life, business, and the current thing going on is obviously this cost of living crisis, inflation, and I guess it ties into everything we've already talked about with regards to watches, because, people have looked at watches as a place to hedge their money, park their money, and it's been a good performing asset, right? Before kind of the correction this year, it was Rolex watches were outperforming stocks, they were outperforming the NASDAQ. Yeah. But now people are at this point where we've come out of this lockdown, a lot of small businesses have shut, they've been printing money like crazy. Where do people go? Where do you go to put your money to outstrip inflation? You can't put it in the bank, you're not getting nothing. Yeah.
crypto's down. Like, how do you, someone who's obviously savvy in looking after your financial affairs, how do you see things going forward?
Do you know what? I'm not sure what it looks like right now. When I look at the economy, it looks mash. And it looks like on October 1st, when energy prices triple and all of that, it's going to be even more of a mess. I'm not sure where it's even safe anymore. I'm not even sure if like cash is always safe. Watches are, I would say at this point, a good investment because they've dropped and you wouldn't imagine that they'll go much lower. We're getting,
Close to retail on some pieces,
we're getting close to retail. Like it's not going to go much lower. And ultimately, they are a store of value. Like they've been a store of value. You can, like you hear about all the stories. Like people are after watches. You know, whether it's them buying it or whether it's them robbing it. What people want the watches. Yeah, they know it's a store of value. So I will always look at watches, and when I'm buying them, I don't think it's a cash loss. I consider it an investment. Yeah. Every single watch I've purchased has gone up, even in this last 6 months of it going down, still up considerably, super up.
Yeah.
So
they say time in the market rather than timing.
That's it.
You've been in there early. You've been patient. Yeah.
Literally it.
But like another one, I guess, of our shared interests is crypto as well. Like you're obviously a man who's very plugged in.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from the investment side of it, I mean, what benefit do you see that the technology can bring going forward?
I'll be honest with you, yeah?
Yeah.
See me.
you're just a speculator. You're a cold capitalist.
Yeah? I know you are. You're looking at the technology behind it, that where it can help the world.
Yeah.
I'm looking at how is the price going to help me in my life?
Yeah, for real.
So obviously, like you got to take a little bit of like advice and indication of what this actually is before you throw money in it. But how many of these meme coins that do nothing have made people millionaires?
Yeah, it's true. Bro, I'll be honest, so a guy that I went to school with, he was like one of the people that started me on my crypto journey. And I developed a bit of a snobby attitude to things like Dogecoin and all of this. And he was like, listen, the meme coins are going to pump. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, but don't do nothing. It's just bullshit. He was like, no, it's going to do something. Fundamentals. What's the tokenomics? He was like, forget all that. And Dogecoin went crazy and Inu, whatever it's called, Shobi and all the Shiba and all of that. And like, I was sitting on the sidelines all like, oh, okay, cool. Now, obviously, there's certain other coins. In a ball, everything pumps, right? Yeah. But it's true. Like, human psychology is crazy. Like, it's the herd. The capital will flow to where the herd is. But like, you know, for me, I look at like crypto and I feel like there are some benefits in, obviously everyone wants to make money, but in terms of privacy, in terms of me being able to transact with you without a third party censoring me or blocking me for, you know, whatever it might be. So that's why I think going forward, it will always be there. So
100%. It will always be there. I just wonder how the world, obviously look, like you've got the world economy and fiat is heavily affected by crypto. They don't like it. They'll do whatever they can to regulate it or to get their foot in the door to a way where they can at least control a certain aspect of it. Yeah. So as time goes on, the decentralized crypto world, I think, becomes slightly more centralized. There might be a few that stand on its own. Yeah. But like the system is big, bro. Like the system's too big. Like they know what they're doing. They know who they're looking at. You've got all of these like you've got to do, what is it now that you've got to do? The
KYC and
all of that. So they even know what's going on now. Like even in this whole decentralized world, they know what's going on. Yeah. So you got to be smart, man. But if you know what you're doing, you can jump through hoops of fire. I'm just got to wait for Luna to return.
I don't think you're the only one in that boat.
I lost a big pot of money on Luna. Yeah, Do Kwon, you owe me money, bro. I'm coming to find you. You owe me big money.
So Do Kwon's the founder of Luna. You know, people turned up at his door.
Of course.
Yeah, there were people in Korea because obviously the whole thing imploded and they were knocking on the door again. Where's my money?
Even the compensation was not good enough. It was not good enough. Like I haven't seen. Someone sent me something the other day that let me know that it's like it's bubbling, something's happening. Yeah. But I'm not sure. I don't even know what my portfolio looks like right now. I have no idea. I could have one bag in there. I could have 50. I could have 100. I don't know what's in there because I have no idea. I just locked my mind out of it. I unfollowed all like the accounts. Like, I don't want to see no more charts for a little bit. Like, let me heal and then let me return.
I think that's healthy. I was checking my portfolio and charts like 20, 50 times a day, whatever it is.
100%.
And then when I took a step back,
I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
I wasn't sleeping because I wasn't sure of what Asia.
You know, them ones, your missus is like, who you messaging? It's like, I'm looking at the fundamentals on this coin.
I didn't sleep. And it was lockdown as well. That was like, I wasn't sleeping. I was watching 1 minute charts. Yeah. I just turned into a nutcase, man. Like, I'm happy I'm out of crypto for a second.
So obviously, you know, you being Savage Dan, the kind of, I guess, the personality, the producer, everything that you do, like I said, you're a man of many talents. What would you say is a fair way to say, I don't know, maybe it's your main, what's your main thing?
I don't think I have one now, you know?
Yeah. What was it then?
It was originally music, podcast, anything audio.
Yeah.
And I'm talking, it could be football commentary. It could be, I did so many like film voiceovers and you see like Baby Shark.
Yeah.
And like those, I worked with like companies that would make like kids songs because kids watch the same thing over and over again. And these YouTube channels have like 1 billion views like every year. Then obviously there's like loads of podcasts and music, like working with every artist basically. So that was me until the Savage Dan thing became a thing. And then I started to be more involved in football, I'd say more than anything, with Chelsea.
Yeah.
And with boxing as well, with JD. Now, I don't think I even have a main thing. Yeah. My bread and butter will always be the studio, but boxing drags me away from it so many times in a month, just because we might have a show in Manchester and we've got fight week. I might have to be in Manchester from Wednesday to Sunday, and then we might have one the next week after in Birmingham. I might have to be. So I'm not in the studio anywhere near as much as I used to be. I'm not at Chelsea games doing the match day lives or any working with the players like that anywhere near as much as I used to.
Do you worry you're getting spread a bit thin?
I'm spreading myself in. It's my fault. I can say no to any job I want, but it's because I work in all the things I like. I do them.
Yeah.
It's not even just the money, because I miss money for money. Like I would rather do that job, which pays me maybe a little bit less than that job, but because I actually fancy doing that today, I'll do that. So maybe I'm spreading myself in, but it's not that thin because it's actually all like the three things I love. So it's music, boxing, football. Like that's take all the money away. And these are things I was paying to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like I'm paying to go to boxing clubs. I was paying to play football, to watch football, paying to flip and go studio, whatever it is. That's what I'm saying. So I only really work on things that I do.
And then there's obviously the Filthy Fellas as well. It just came to me as well. That's something that's grown in popularity. And it's mad because I first heard about the Filthy Fellas about, say, 4 or 5 years ago. My cousin, so he lives in Dubai. So he moved there when he was a baby. So he's obviously born here and that. And it's funny because even though he's grown up and like raised in Dubai, he speaks like one of us, like a London man. I was like, how do you know all this slang? He's like, I watch Filthy Fellas.
That's it. That's it.
So he put me onto you guys. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's Dan. I know Dan. Yeah. Obviously Steve-O and everyone else on there. How's that going? Because you guys have become, I think, like, do you know what? You got Rio the other day. It's like the #1.
So now it's developing, innit? Because now you've got, look, footballers have always watched Filthy. Like I've only been on Filthy for like, I don't know, 5 years or whatever it is. Footballers have always watched Filthy. Like that's fact. Like they all watch it, whether it's to see the banter or to see who's getting ripped. Like footballers hold corn on Filthy. Like we'll just rip you for no reason, or we might rip each other. It's like a football show, but it's kind of a cussing match. Combined with like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and we don't know what it's gonna look like when we sit down to record it. But Filthy is obviously, because it's such like a no rules kind of thing, people fuck with it, people like it, and people recognize it. So people just watch it because you don't even know who's in the squad. You have no idea. And then all of a sudden Harry Pinero's back in the squad. And then all of a sudden Lippy's there, or Margs is back, or Loons might return, or like Specs is just always putting in a man of the match performance. Like it's just there's so much.
Speaking of no rules.
It don't even matter what you're watching for, you're probably gonna be entertained. Because it's just got that thing. Like I would watch Filthy if I wasn't on Filthy.
Yeah. No, I love watching that. And I think that recent episode of Rio was a real like stamp of authority. It was like, all right, cool. It's not just, and I haven't seen the John Arnorisa one yet, but apparently that's a good one. Everyone's like getting into that one.
There's a couple others coming.
But with the Rio one, it's kind of like, man came from where man's from. Do you know what I mean? He came up.
Yeah.
He's one of the man then, but he's made it to the top of his profession.
That's it.
And undefeated. You know, he's Premier League champion multiple times, Champions League winner. Yeah. But then he's come on the podcast and he's holding court as well.
Yeah, he's holding court.
Man, they're like giving it to him as well.
But that's the thing. Like we can't just
you can't change because we
can't change for you. Yeah. In fact, we've probably even got to go harder. Yeah. We've got to put pressure on you. See if you can still defend.
Yeah.
Like that's literally it. But Rio's a G. Like he came on. I don't think there's many people that can come on and like show that level of composure without us dumbing it down and being kind of like more respectful and asking them questions about their career and stuff like that. Most people wouldn't survive on Filthy. You even if when I go back, I might go back tomorrow. Yeah, I will be rusty, bro.
Yeah,
because I ain't been there for weeks. They'll be running rings around me, bro. Like you lose sharpness at that table so quickly. Like before you know it, PK's just running all over you. Like you gotta be careful, innit? You gotta go there and just 5-yard passing early doors and gotta grow into that fixture. It's tough.
I feel like Miles is like the Diego Forlan of that show. He had a bad patch, but now he's on top. He's the best because he refuses to die. You can't kill him. You don't know how. He don't know how to take the L. Yeah. Like the L is his, but he refuses. He won't have it. It's crazy, man. Characters. I think as well. Yeah, like it's kind of become the benchmark of like football. I don't really call it a podcast, but football shows, football content.
Yeah.
And
you'll notice Sky have changed how they've done their shows. Yeah. I'm talking even on like a Super Sunday and stuff like that. And they won't admit it, but a lot of it will have been to do with Filthy, 100%. It was never so. You see now, you'll see Micah Richards arguing with Roy Keane and that, and they will be allowed to sit there and actually have a pod and argue and get onto it, and that generates clicks and it's entertaining for the people. So they literally, I personally think they've taken a lot of that formula from us because sometimes we just sit down and argue and people love it.
Now, credit to Sky. I think they embraced the social media 100%. Thing from early. So I remember they've got, I can't remember what the show is, but the one that Specs has been on it a few times with that. I think it's Adam Smith or Saturday Social. Yeah. So they'll bring on like the man there from early and they're like reaching into kind of that section of YouTube and it's like a recognition, but at the same time, I think the way the media has developed, the way podcasts and YouTube have opened things up, it's now like, well, they need you lot now. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's not like the other way around where it's, we're getting on Sky. And now it's like, well, hang on a minute. Like,
now we turn it down.
To you. You can turn it down. Yeah. And I think, again, like the way the world has become smaller, footballers are following, you guys and all the other kind of YouTubers.
And it's the next generation. I was in Manchester the other day and I was out and I had a couple like of the United, and the PR2 players on my table with me. And I was just like, you know what? These are like man's young G's pretty much. You get it? Like they're like, you forget, they're the next generation of footballers that will kill it. But they're watching, man. And they're like, they just respect that we're just outrageous with it. We just say whatever we feel.
Yeah.
Sick.
Now, the other thing, obviously, that we were discussing before, obviously, we started filming was your podcast with Chucky. Obviously, shout out Chucky, someone that I'm a big UK garage fan, so I've been following Chucky for time. He ain't gonna remember this. I DJ'd for him once in Uxbridge back in the day.
Guarantee he remembers.
Yeah. And Royale's at Uxbridge, man. We need to sit down and reminisce on the good days. Yes. And like that podcast is obviously something that's away from the sports stuff. It's more touching on culture and on all different types of topics. And it's gone from strength to strength, right? What are the plans for it going forward? We talked about a name change potentially and all this other stuff that's been happening.
I'm not sure if he's announced it. So I want to announce the name change. But yeah, there was a name change. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think he's actually put it out there, but everyone will kind of half know what it is anyway. It was just, look, Chucky is smart and this is his baby, if we're totally honest. I kind of just facilitate it and I'm like a bit part player. I'm like the third wheel in it. But like, he is a conversationalist. Like he can sit there and talk to anyone about anything all the time. He's proved it because he's done it week in, week out for the last 7 years. The first pod was in 2015.
Yeah.
Um,
Before people were really on this podcast.
There was no one.
Yeah, no one was
when
really.
he phoned me to do a podcast, I genuinely wasn't sure what a podcast entailed.
Yeah.
I just knew I could provide whatever it needs to be for it to work. And when he did it, he probably, him and Poe probably didn't know
where it would go.
Didn't. You don't have a plan. They didn't go there even knowing when their next recording was going to be.
Yeah.
You know, so like it just happened, and then because you find success and people like it, you start to dedicate a bit more time to it, and you realize, hold on, this has got legs. Hold on, YouTube's paying. Hold on, this is working. Hold on, brands are paying attention, all of that, and it's just gone from strength to strength. So I think that's why he went for the name change, because half-caste is obviously a flammable phrase.
Yeah.
So he talked about it for years, to be fair. But it's time to change it to something else so that it can grow even more. It's almost like half-caste, it being that name, gave it a little bit of a glass ceiling. And because of it, maybe you can't get as many brand deals, or you can't do as many collaborations, just because it's one of those things that it's a word that people are afraid of.
Yeah.
It was a word that obviously they made it that name to raise eyebrows and to draw the attention, but now you've got all the attention, you can go without it.
Like full confession, like when we were young, like a lot of the mixed race kids in my school would say, I'm half-caste. Like it was a word that they would use to describe themselves. And then I remember just like years later, it was like, you can't say that word anymore. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
And now it's mixed race.
And now it's mixed race.
Yeah, that's it. Like, they've done it with loads of words. Yeah. And like, that one makes sense to me. I get it.
Because of the history of caste system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's obviously like, in the next 5 years, there'll be plenty of words that we're saying today that we can't say. Yeah, that's just facts. It's just how it goes. So we just got to stay ahead of the curve. That's it.
If anyone's trying to cancel us now in 2027, just know whatever we said in this show,
whatever we said today was legal to say today.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so like, so hey, she's it's like, you know what? It's an important podcast for the culture, for the country. If I'm totally honest, like we've had big people on there, big players, and loads of people that try to come on. So, for example, there's hundreds of big people that want to come on, not necessarily for a promo run, but because they know it will do them the world of good to be on it. But Chucky's good at kind of like working out who, it don't need to be you, or maybe let's put you on the back burner until something more, you know, like when the stars align, and actually that conversation with you now actually might make sense given what happened last week or whatever it is. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So, what's the history with you? And like, how do you know Chucky? How
do you know what? Chucky's from West. I didn't actually really know Chucky. Yeah. I'm like the generation underneath him. Yeah. I didn't know him growing up, but I always knew he had raves and all of that kind of thing. Them days I wasn't raving. I wasn't raving at all. At all. You would find me outside of rave. I would never rave. I couldn't understand why people were going inside and dancing. I couldn't believe it. Like as in my mind, it was just like, what have people lost their mind? What do you mean they're drinking and dancing?
Bro, it's not just that. We're indoors wearing Avrex jackets and like
them times it was hard sole shoes.
Yeah, bro.
You couldn't get in like boat shoes. Maybe like
you couldn't wear trainers. You had to wear shoes. You were wearing a big AV.
Every rave, you look like you're going to a wedding. What's the point? Exactly. Like it was pathetic.
But you know what? That whole period, like for me, that was my upbringing, right? So for me, I know there's a UK Garage documentary out at the moment that's been doing the rounds. I need to watch it. But like a lot of that, like the whole culture. So it was before phones, right?
Yeah.
So there was no, MP3s. There was none of that. It was pirate radio.
Yeah.
So it's like jumping around, running away from the DTI. Back then it was the Department of Trade and Industry and all of this. But all of that played into the story. And like Chucky was a big,
of course,
big part of that, man. He was huge. Like I said, he was from West, where I'm from Northwest. So someone that we always looked up to and that. It's interesting hearing your perspective. Look it up.
Like me, I couldn't understand how everyone was raving like this. I couldn't believe it. I got a bit older. All of a sudden, I'm the culprit now.
Yeah,
raving.
Yeah.
But Chucky's always been the guy, and I think he's always been kind of ahead. So I'm not sure that he has. There's more plans. things that are going to happen with HC. And you know what I always say? Like I have visions. I've had visions so many times where when I've tried to explain that vision to people, they haven't seen it. And like for some people that can deter them from executing that. For me, it's just like, no, I'm just like, I can just see further than you because this is my vision, it's not your vision. He's got that where he can see what's next. You can always see what's next when it's your baby, like how to super up, how to get the best out of it, where the next level is, because you can't allow things to become stale because the amount of personalities now and the amount of, you know, social media people and the amount of competition is too high for you to stay still. You can't stay still. You can't get complacent because as soon as you do, you're in the mud.
And even for someone like that to be relevant for over 20 years, like you have to be someone who can adapt to your different
He might be the Jay-Z of like whatever that is.
Of whatever
he might
that
be the Jay-Z of that.
Yeah.
Like he is. He's proper, man. He had like Swiss beats on there. Like it's like big names from before anyone was getting big names. But it was always about being. I guess half of it's being first. He was one of the first podcasts. Certainly one of the first ones to film when we did it. And then the first to get some big names and to really touch on certain topics. It's primarily, I mean, if you had to pull it in a box, you might pick the music box for HG. But even then, you do that tentatively because it's like it's not really a music podcast.
Not. It's everything.
It's everything. It's everything.
Culture. Yeah, quote unquote. But like, I guess that's shot in the same place as your studio, right?
Yeah, so that's in my studio A.
Okay.
I got 4. The thing is, I've got 4 studios and I always try and make them look different, but it's so hard because you got so many people. I get visual fatigue. I hate seeing the same room loads of times. I don't mind if it's for a certain podcast, but I hate seeing 25 podcasts filmed in the same room. But there's only so many rooms that you can film in. So I'm saying, so you're inevitably you're going to see the same room over and over again. But I try and switch it up. I make it so that no one films half-cast or HC, sorry. No one films the same way as HC. Because I want that room to feel like that's that room. Some people walk in that studio and they don't know it's that room because of how that room is shot.
Even when we were having the discussions about doing this, obviously we're getting it started now, and I said it had to be in the shop because I was offered studios, and I said no, we have to be here. We have to show everyone we're here. What we're doing. Obviously, we have a lot of watchers here, so this is just a small.
Listen, there's a lot of money on here, man.
There's a lot of money on this table.
On this table. It's just a couple mil. There's a couple mil on it.
That makes my fingers sweat when I have to think about carrying this in and out wherever it needs to go. So but I just feel like you're right. Like it needs to be unique. If especially if a podcast is going to be authentic, it's to be unique to what you're doing. So what's next for Savage Dan? Like, I guess
for me,
you're like I said, a man of many talents.
Do you know what? I just want to kick on now. I feel like I've set my stall out. I know where I am and what I'm doing. I have like a bit of a issue with like my time management, not being late, but as in I work
allocating time.
It's like I work flat out and then I chill, or I flipping. I'll go on like a little blowout weekend in flipping Ibiza or whatever it is. Like I do things in like entireties. So it doesn't really give me much space to like sit back and be like, all right, cool, what's next? But I guess it's just more of the same.
Go with the flow.
I go with the flow, but you can only do it for so long because going with the flow has got me here, but now I'm here and I need to kind of crack on. But you can't do all 3 at 100%. You know what I'm saying? I have to. I'm splitting my soul almost doing all these things. I want to go bigger in boxing. It's a tough industry though, and it's murky waters. So it's hard to do. But because I'm already in the door, I have to work out what my next move is regarding boxing. Boxers only gonna grow. And Boxer's office has just moved to where my studio is. So like you go down the stairs, turn right to my studio, turn left to Boxer now.
It's just
Did
you have any say in that decision?
Of course, I had every say in that. Like, I did that on purpose, to be fair. But now it means I can't hide from meetings. But to be fair, it's a Boxer's like a it's essentially it's like a startup, you know. It's just a huge startup, you know. It's our first year. Put on some crazy fights already. Calm Brook was like our first pay-per-view. We've had big nights, big deals. So as that grows, I think my life will become clearer as to which direction I go in. If I stay in boxing or if I decide actually, no, do you know what, let me fall back. I want to focus on music for a bit. At the moment, it's like if I spend 4 days dedicated to boxing, then as soon as I get back on the Sunday, like for example, I would have got back today, I would have then thought, all right, cool. Next 5 days I dedicate to studio.
Yeah.
And then I'll do it that way. I just have to figure it out, man. It's still a bit of a mess right now.
And even with the whole boxing thing, I guess like, you know, you're someone who's close to or grown close to some of the fighters as well. I mean, you have a good relation with AJ. What did you make of his, you know, most recent performance? He obviously fought against.
I was there, man. I was in
the second fight. You in Saudi?
I was in Cyprus. I was in Cyprus with Nico.
Yeah.
I get a phone call. One of our fighters, Ben Whitaker, we managed to get like the contract over the line for him to fight on that bill in Saudi. So I've had to say to my missus, all right, cool, babes, I'm going. I've left the family holiday. I've gone to Saudi, innit?
Straight, yeah.
I got in I wouldn't say I got in trouble, but like she would have noted that down. I'm gonna have to work that
you
one
have to
back
pay
off,
that one back, yeah.
I've gone to Saudi, commentated on a fight, on the Ben Whitaker fight, and then
for who?
For Sky.
Oh, for Sky.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then AJ fought a decent fight, to be fair. Like, I just think when you're up against someone who's that
technically gifted,
he's just too good, man.
He is.
What are you meant to do with him? Not everyone's had the plan of trying to do something with him. It don't matter. He's unbeaten. He's unified everything. Like he's got one more belt to capture if he wants to unify the heavyweight division as well. He's that good. And then obviously after the fight, AJ just blew up, man. He just had enough. He had enough.
What do you make of that? I need to come under like criticism, like, you know, I shouldn't have done it. But there's a lot of people saying,
you know what? Yeah, like
it's all the pressure of the pre-match.
It's the pressure of everything, man. Like no one can tell someone how to feel, what to say, whatever it is. Like he will probably look at it and be like, I wish I never did that. I'm someone who I like people to just own their shit. Like if you did something,
be authentic with it, like
or dig your heels in. Like he did it. He wigged out, innit? Like he wigged out after the fight. And people were shocked, innit? Everyone all over the world, everyone's shocked by this outburst. But I think it was quite healthy. Like, as in it was unhealthy, but as in the fact that he did it, let everyone know I'm not just this media trained.
I think that's the thing,
with
right?
a script.
So I think for a lot of people, the AJ has been too clean cut, too, you know, Lynx adverts, JD adverts, Smiley, your grand knows who he is, kind of thing. And then it was like the boy from Watford came out.
Yeah, it's a mixture. You know what it is? It's so hard trying to. I do it. Like trying to almost split your soul. So you walk in that room and you have to be that person. You walk in that room and you got to be that one. And you got range. Like you are in many ways both of these people.
Yeah,
You're in all in one. Yeah. But who I am is a reflection of who you are. You put me in a room full of like trappers. I'm comfortable in there. I can be in that room. But you put me in a room full of CEOs and Fortune 500 bosses. I could probably be in that room as well. Like so, it's. He's got that, I think, and I think like that combined with pressure, combined with emotion, and 36 minutes of getting punched in the face equaled a bit of an outroar. Yeah. But do you know what? It's boxing. I think in boxing and in combat sports in general, let people be what they got to be. This isn't golf.
They say closed mouths don't get fed, especially in boxing. So you have to keep the. You have to 100%. Keep that.
That one. I mean, he didn't think that through. That weren't by design. No, he weren't thinking, oh, if I do this now. You know, put more eyes on me, but he just went for it, man. Like boxing is just a weird sport, man. It's a weird sport, but it's characters. Like you have to have a certain degree of tapness to even get in the ring.
So speaking of characters, obviously the other heavyweight champions, Tyson Fury, is a massive character. At some point he's going to be fighting Usyk. At some point he might even be fighting AJ. There's a lot of talk of that happening. So by the time this goes out, it might already be signed, sealed, and nearly delivered. Let's start with Usyk and Fury. I think Fury's going to be too big for him. And Fury can box. He's also technically gifted. I think he wins that fight all day.
Yeah.
I think AJ and Fury, on the other hand, I think styles make fights. While AJ struggles against smaller opponents, he obviously lost to Ruiz, he's lost to Usyk twice. Might do all right against Fury, you know. He might have that. He's not the better boxer, but he might have that one punch.
Styles make fights. With AJ, you got to be awake all night anyway. You can't switch off because he's not an idiot. Like, you switch off, AJ will put your lights out. I think Usyk's too small for Fury.
Yeah.
I think Fury we'd either get two things. We'd either get a Fury stoppage or we'd get one of the most boring fights of all time. And it would be a landslide Fury win. Just because they're both technically so good, they'd barely lay a glove on each other. It would just be one of those super technical fights that everyone hates. AJ Fury, on the other hand, it's a tough one because AJ has got what it takes. But who bets against Fury right now?
You can't.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the point in betting against him? Like, if AJ went, just suppose this fight does get made and AJ goes and beats him, it's a shock to the world.
Yeah, he's got a puncher's chance. That's it. Yeah.
It's a shock. It's more than a puncher's chance, but it's effectively a puncher's chance. You know what I'm saying? Like, you look at the form book as well, and you look at all the details, the fact that he's 6'9", he's probably in the best play, like the best form of his career. Like, Fury's not the guy most people want to fight. No, but AJ wants to fight him. I was with him on Wednesday. They want that fight. Yeah. They want that fight.
He's got no choice, isn't it?
I think he's got plenty of choices.
You say that. But
do you know what? I tell you what it is.
His reputation, his legacy, and his career is on the line. He has to take that fight.
I'm not sure if it is. I think people look at this way deeper than it is. No one's looked at that Usyk AJ fight and thought, oof, AJ just pocketed 50 mil there. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah. I'll
fight anyone for 50 mil. Anyone. And I'll lose by any means, bro. Like, it don't matter. I don't care. Yeah. I don't care if I'm in there, I have to do cartwheels. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we just saw Swarms get in the ring with KSI. I heard he got big moolah.
600 bags or something.
Big moolah. Get me? So whilst everyone is laughing at him, like, turning around in the ring and that, he's 600 bags up. Yeah. So sometimes the bottom line is the bottom line. Like, legacy and career is nice when you're 24. AJ's at the tail end. He's in the twilight of his career. He's making big money.
He is, but I'd go back and say, okay, for someone like Swarms who maybe don't have that half a bar in his bank account, there's a big difference. Someone like AJ who's already got the money, got the deals, got everything. At this point, it does become, this is my argument, it becomes more legacy because I've made that money. I'm comfortable. I've beaten up a lot of people. I've won a lot of good fights, iconic fights, the Klitschko fight. Yeah. But it's not really gone as smoothly as it could have the last few years.
Yeah.
I need to go out with a bang. And if I put in a performance, even though I say he loses against Fury, but he puts in a performance.
No, I hear it. No, you got to.
Then everyone's like, oh, okay, yeah. Like,
it's legacy fights, but I don't think it's legacy defining. As far as people are concerned, AJ's lost 2 in a trot and, you know, he's lost to Ruiz as well. Yeah. So the legacy isn't perhaps what he wanted that legacy to be. He can revamp it with a big win over Fury or over whoever it is. Like, Wilder's another legacy. It's about legacy fights now. For me, like the fights that everyone wanted to see that but perhaps too difficult to make back then, now can be made and you can still get big money because he's such a big draw. I don't know if the result matters as much. To him it does, of course it does, because he's training for it. Like, you put yourself through hell for 12 weeks to train for these fights. But I don't think the victory or the loss changes the overall landscape of what AJ is and how people see him. I think people see him how they see him, and that's it.
All right, Dan, this has been like a brilliant podcast. We've touched on like a million different things, and I'm glad it was you that we invited on today. Because even on a personal level, obviously, like I said, we know each other, we're friends. You're also a man who I always want to listen to you when we have our phone calls and just get your advice. Going forward, let's end on this. You're a man who's obviously got a nice little watch collection. What's next to add to the collection?
I was going to ask you that. What have I got? Hold on.
Just so everyone knows, before the whole Luna episode, right, we were discussing the Platinum Daytona. Remember, you were saying to me,
I was going to get it.
Let's going to get the Platinum Daytona. That's my favourite watch in the world.
Was it 100 grand, was you saying?
I'd say right now, you've got the Platinum Daytona plain dial. It's about 110. And you've got the one with the baguette diamonds in it, about 125 ballpark, right? So maybe a bit more than that. I think they're both stunning. There's even an Arabic one as well,
Yeah,
which is
I
like,
see it.
I
I
don't know how
know.
much that
I
one is.
see
But
it.
just the way the brown sits on the
Yeah.
ice blue dial, that's
That's the one to get. I think that's not my next watch. I just can't see me throwing 110 bags that I watched now.
Yeah.
I was this close before. I was this close.
Yeah.
But now, I think I might have to wait till like 2023, 2024 for me to throw 100 bags that I watch. I've got to get this house first.
Yeah.
Or, because you know what, I'm having this problem, like, I know what I want, but I can't have it all. Like, I'm this close to pulling the trigger on getting that Taycan, and I can't because I just know it's not responsible. Like, I can't go and buy it yet. Let me just get this house, and then I can go and like be frivolous with the money.
Not that would influence you, but there are some rumours that is getting the Platinum Daytona is getting discontinued because next year will be 10 years.
That's good
So
advice.
there's some people saying, not financial advice, don't go buy it and then say, that guy on the podcast told me to buy it. But there's some rumours that after, because it'll be 10 years next year. And
So you know my collection. Would you say
you've got a solid collection?
It's a solid one. It is.
You know, you're like, you know, if someone came and sat in front of me and told me they had watches that were like not all that, I'd tell them honestly. But your collection is solid.
I can't really. The next one might actually have to be that.
You might have to rotate out of one maybe to help medicine.
Yeah, I would have to probably lose the olive.
Yeah.
But
then there's rumours of that being discontinued.
That's what I'm waiting for. I don't want to sell until that goes. Like, I know what's going to happen.
You know what's going to happen, innit?
I know what's
It's like crypto, you sell it and it goes flying, isn't it?
That's it. So in my head, I might just have to hold on to everything until they are all discontinued, and I'm guaranteed to get top dollar for it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it would. Do you know what? I wanted the what's crazy is before I got any of the rose golds, the one I actually wanted was the Ever Rose root beer.
Yeah.
And I got it. And it stayed in a wrapper. Like I barely even opened a box in a safety deposit box. And I wanted it so bad, and I got it, and I was too scared to wear it. I'm too scared to wear oyster bracelets.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you put them on, I don't know what it is about me. I scratch watches easy.
Yeah.
Like super easy, I damage watches. So like, I have to be careful the watches I get. So do you know what I actually did want? I wanted the platinum. Is it platinum? Or no, white gold. The white gold Prezi.
Okay.
I did want the white gold Prezi.
Olive dial,
face.
yeah.
But then that date just has come and kind of dragged the price on that down.
Yeah.
So that's why I was looking at that as my next watch.
Yeah. The white gold Olive Day Date anniversary, Olive Day Date was another good performer.
Yeah.
And pulled back a bit. We had one, we sold it. But it was never as popular as a rose gold. The rose gold one's always been
the creme de la creme. They've got to discontinue it.
Yeah.
Did you see, like, there was no truth in those, I saw the blue, you know, like they tried to say that this was going to get discontinued and they brought out a blue face rose.
Yes, yeah.
Did anyone get any confirmation? Like, is that coming?
I don't know. I can't.
You can't do it.
I can't do it. I can't put my name to that. If they don't happen, I'm gonna get. I've already said it. I've already made enough bold claims on this show as it is. Yeah.
Now you've got to make bold runs. All right, cool. I'm gonna ask you to make one bold one then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of my collection, what do you think is the next to get discontinued?
Take me through it. So you've got the Batman. You've got the root beer. You've got.
I'm not worried about those.
You've got a couple that have already been discontinued. You've got the Hulk.
Yeah.
You got the chocolate Daytona.
I'm more thinking about the chocolate Daytona.
Yeah.
The olive Prezi.
Yeah.
Or what else is there that is close?
Probably the olive Prezi.
That's what I'm looking at, but I've been waiting for years. It's been meant to get discontinued every year, and it's just not discontinuing.
Yeah. No, I think again, it's just one of those things, isn't it? Like these rumors start, you don't know where they start from. There's probably starting from a bunch of people who have the watch.
If we're going from logic, they've got to come up with the 70th anniversary soon-ish.
Yeah.
Surely they discontinue the 60th. Before
Rolex, you heard it here.
on,
Make
Rolex,
it happen.
help me out.
Help the man them. Let them do their thing.
Let me know.
Yeah. Nah, I think it's a good candidate for it. But personally, I think that argument about the Platinum Daytona definitely makes sense. But who knows what the future holds. Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And yeah, man, we're going to keep an eye out on everything that you're doing with the boxing, the football, the music, and also, of course, the shows and everything else that you contribute to the culture. And as part of that, thank you for giving us your time here.
Come on, bro.
On KNQ.
Always, listen, get your watches from Kings and Queens. Yeah?
Done.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and also comment on who you'd like to see in future episodes, and maybe also the kind of topics you want to see discussed.